Good morning, everyone. My name is Camille Garcia. In the name of our Interim Director, Melissa Almodovar Suarez, we would like to welcome you to this pre-proposal meeting for OSHA Consulting and Training Services. This pre-proposal meeting, in this pre-proposal meeting, we are going to explain the process for the CDBG-DR-RFP-2022-06, the request for proposal for OSHA Consulting and Training Services. I would like to introduce you our team from PRDOH. Along with me is Vanessa Acovis Ross, Procurement Specialist, Maria Rodriguez Medina, Deputy Director of Federal Compliance, and Omar Nine from Federal Compliance Area. Any questions submitted in this meeting will be answered in writing and will be published in an addendum. Any information provided in this meeting does not change the terms and conditions established for the request for proposal instructions. All procurement process shall be conducted in accordance with the terms and conditions established in the procurement manual and contractual requirements to guarantee full and open competition or fair treatment of all persons or entities involved in each procurement process. The procurement manual is available at our webpage, CDBG-DR.PR.gov, and is incorporated by reference and made an integral part of this RFP. Nothing said in this pre-proposal meeting will change any of the terms of the RFP except a written amendment to a solicitation issued throughout an addendum. Now we're gonna explain the scope of services, Mr. Omar Nin.
Thank you for the introduction, Ms. Garcia Villafana. Let me go ahead and upload the presentation.
Omar, I can share the presentation. Would you like me to go ahead with that?
Sure, I'd appreciate it since I'm having a little bit of trouble finding the one in English here. But yes, that would be great. Well, thank you for joining us today. My name is Omar Nina Vidal, and I am the Department of Housing Health and Safety Officer. And today, the following presentation will provide an overview of the scope of work for the OSHA Consulting and Training Services RFP. The PRDOH is seeking trainers that possess an OSHA 500 trainer certificate in construction with experience and capabilities to train and certify students in the OSHA 10-hour construction industry outreach and the OSHA 30-hour construction industry outreach training courses. The students participating in these courses will mostly consist of qualified Section 3 subrecipients referrals, contractor or subcontractor Section 3 referrals, and any candidate identified by PRDOH as a Section 3 worker under the program. Additionally, the selected proposers will be required to facilitate the courses in person and through live online classrooms to municipalities, contractors, and subcontractors carrying out activities under the programs that qualify as Section 3 candidates. I think you should go to the previous slide, please. There we go. As I was saying, the selected proposers must be able to perform these services on site, online, at PRDOH's offices, or at contractor sites, as determined by PRDOH. The PRDOH is also seeking a consultant that possesses experience and knowledge of OSHA regulations to provide advice in OSHA-related matters as requested by PRDOH. This presentation will provide an overview of the scope of services and context on program needs. Next slide, please. The action plan for CDBG-DR and action plan for CDBG-MIT, available on the PRDOH website, provides a listing of programs which will identify eligible activities for construction. Proponents should complete due diligence in reviewing these documents and being familiar with the programs. Next slide, please. The programs will include, but are not limited to, multiple small and large housing, infrastructure, and other public works construction projects. The specific number of projects and or contracts that may require these training services is not known and will vary from year to year. The project range in size and complexity. A construction project is defined in 29 CFR 5 by the Department of Labor. Each project has a clear start date and end date, resulting in contract closeout. For more information on program structure, refer to the exhibits and PRDOH program web pages of public information. Next slide, please. The above graphic provides a brief overview of the current MIT programs with the latest action plan. These are also subject to future changes. Next slide. Proposers should understand the definition for construction projects as per 29 CFR 5. This definition encompasses descriptions that include the transportation between the site of work. The proponents must be knowledgeable in these compliance concepts. Construction projects funded with CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT funds must comply with OSHA requirements to ensure that site workers are compliant with 29 CFR 1926. PRDOH, subrecipients, project owners are responsible for ensuring implementation of OSHA with their contractors. Program subrecipients, program contractors must also comply with 29 CFR 1926.21b2 with safety training and education requirements. The employers are responsible for ensuring site personnel understand how to action the regulations applicable to the site and ensure competent and qualified safety personnel are available to address hazards, incidents, and accidents. The Contract Work Hours and Safety Standards Act, QASA, discusses workers shall not work more than 40 hours a week unless they are compensated overtime. Projects must comply with safety standards. Specifically in section 3704, health and safety standards in building trades and construction industry, condition of contract. Additionally, in section 3705, safety programs, provide for the establishment and supervision of programs for the education and training of employers and employees in the recognition, avoidance, and prevention of unsafe working conditions in employment covered by this chapter. And number 2, collect reports and data and consult with and advise employers as to the best means of preventing injuries. Construction job sites must include safety information via physical binder at a minimum. These documents will include OSH Safety and Health Plan, OSH Job Hazard Analysis, OSH COVID-19 Plan, and others as seen on this slide. Puerto Rico Department of Housing, its contractors, subcontractors, as well as subrecipients to PRDOH and their respective contractors and subcontractors must demonstrate compliance to the greatest extent possible with Section 3 by implementing the employment, training, and contracting requirements of 24 CFR Section 75.19 and meeting or exceeding the HUD established labor hour safe harbor benchmarks. Puerto Rico Department of Housing, as the grantee, will ensure Section 3 compliance by offering a training program that provides training opportunities for Section 3 workers and targeted workers. For more information on Section 3 workers, please see the Puerto Rico Department of Housing Policy Guide. Federal Compliance Labor Standards Unit has developed a full program, including policy, training modules, checklists, and forms to drive Section 3 compliance implementation for directly managed construction projects and subrecipient-led construction projects. Successful firms must have extensive experience providing training and certifying students in the OSHA 10-hour construction industry outreach training and the OSHA 30-hour construction industry outreach training courses. Each document originated by the proposer to complete the tasks assigned shall be in English and Spanish language in conformance with language accessibility policy. Puerto Rico Department of Housing will receive referrals for eligible candidates who meet the definition of a Section 3 worker or a Section 3 targeted worker for consideration to receive training. Subrecipients will also be able to refer eligible candidates to the program to ensure their projects have knowledgeable staff overseeing OSHA compliance. Puerto Rico Department of Housing will direct these candidates to receive OSHA 10 and or OSHA 30-hour training. Successful proponents must provide a certificate at the end of the course that is acceptable by OSHA training standards. We will now discuss briefly the scope of work. The selected proposers will be required to facilitate the courses in person and through live online classroom to municipalities, contractors, and subcontractors carrying out activities under the programs that qualify as Section 3 candidates. The selected proposers must be able to perform these services on site, online, at PRDOH's offices, or at a contractor site as determined by the Puerto Rico Department of Housing. The PRDOH is also seeking a consultant that possesses experience and knowledge of OSHA regulations to provide advice on OSHA-related matters as requested by Puerto Rico Department of Housing. Selected proposers are directly responsible for ensuring the accuracy, timeliness, and completion of all tasks assigned under this contract. Each document originated by the proposer to complete the tasks assigned shall be in the English and Spanish language in conformance with language of accessibility policy. The scope of services presented herein is based upon circumstances existing at the time of the RSP. Puerto Rico Department of Housing reserves the right to modify or delete the tasks listed, and if appropriate, add additional tasks prior to and during the term of the contemplated contract. The Puerto Rico Department of Housing reserves the right to retain all or some of the services for the programs internally. The Puerto Rico Department of Housing reserves the right to select more than one proposer. Staff experience, and qualifications. The proposers must provide detailed information about the experience and qualifications of the entire staff to be assigned, including degrees, certifications, licenses, years of relevant experience, and resumes or professional information, specifying year of graduation, start and end dates for each job position and project. The proposers shall identify resources who will serve as key staff. This includes the proposer's own staff and staff from any subcontractor to be used. The proposer should demonstrate that its staff and or the subcontractor staff meet the desired requirements listed and have the necessary experience and knowledge to successfully implement and perform the tasks and services. The proposer's organization and staffing plan shall specifically include the required number of personnel, role and responsibilities of each person on the project, name of the resource or subcontractor, and resume or professional information, their planned level of effort, their anticipated duration of involvement, and their on-site availability. When applicable, the proposer should include a good standing certification from the regulatory institution that each staff member is admitted to. The proposer should demonstrate their ability to adequately staff and scale each functional area to maintain the agreed upon service levels throughout the life of the program. Proposer shall specifically identify people currently employed by the proposer who will serve as key staff. This section in the RFP contains a table that represents the general descriptions for the key staff to be utilized in the proposal and, if awarded, the resulting contract. Proposers shall have one or more of the following key staff available for the assignment, depending on the areas of practice and its requirements. The requirements for the position column outlines items that the key staff must have. The column for roles and responsibilities outlines the work that is expected from that position. You will see the table identifies trainers and a consultant key staff position. In this slide, you will see the requirements and roles and responsibilities for the consultant. The scope of work is divided into tasks with tasks for specific items. Task 1, consulting. Visit on-site construction sites, research, advise, and provide recommendations as to OSHA-related complaints, identify workplace hazards, provide advice and assist in improving OSHA program, maintain clear and organized records, reports, or on findings and recommendations. Task number 2, facilitate the OSHA 10-hour construction industry outreach training. Provide an entry-level construction workers general awareness and recognizing and preventing hazards on a construction site. Explain the importance of OSHA in providing a safe and healthful workplace to workers covered by OSHA. Develop and provide students a curriculum on the courses and share the required material. Train students so that they are able to implement the list found within this section in the RFP. Provide training to assign compliance safety personnel for subrecipient staff as assigned. Provide training to field workers, site supervisors, contractors, and subcontractors, and Section 3 candidates as assigned. Provide students an OSHA 10-hour Department of Labor course completion card within 2 weeks after completing the course. The course should include the following modules as part of its curriculum that can be seen in the table within the slide. Task number 3, facilitate the OSHA 30-hour construction industry outreach training. The course will instruct students on prevention of possible worksite hazards, understanding workers' rights, employer responsibilities, and more. Train students so that they are able to implement the list found within this section in the RFP. Provide students an OSHA 30-hour Department of Labor course completion card within 2 weeks after completing the course. The course should include the following modules as part of its curriculum, as seen in the RFP and table in the slide. Proposers must provide a statement of how the workload of Puerto Rico Department of Housing will be accommodated and what kind of priority it would be given. Proposer must address items outlined in this scope of services and include a description of the proposed allocation of work between the staff identified. The evaluation committee may invite qualified proposers to make an oral presentation, submit clarifications, respond to questions, or a combination thereof. In general terms, the oral presentation's purpose will be the visual and graphic demonstration of the work approach based on proposers' submitted proposal. The topics to be presented will be based on information provided as part of the proposal. No additional topics will be allowed during the oral presentation. Oral presentations will be confidential and only one proposer will be present at a time. The oral presentation will receive a score that will be combined with the total score of the responses to the proposal. The work approach responses shall not exceed 20 pages. Responses that exceed the page limit will only be evaluated up to the contents of page 20. Content beyond this point will not be considered in the evaluation. Responses to the work approach shall not be a copy and paste, a replica, or reproduction of the scope of work. This type of response will not be considered nor evaluated. Following key dates are listed. Today we have completed the pre-proposal virtual conference. And I thank you for participating in today's session. And we wish looking forward to continuing to serve the people of Puerto Rico together. I will stop sharing the screen now and will return the presentation to the procurement team. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Omar. Good morning. My name is Vanessa Covis, and now I will be explaining important information regarding the RFP documents, acquisition, important dates, the process for the submission of inquiries and addendas, and the proposal electronic submission process for this RFP. The RFP documents are available for download at the CDBG-DR website. Regarding the important dates for this RFP, the public notice was published on May 25th, 2022. The documents have been available since the same day, May 25th, 2022. To request the invitation to the pre-proposal virtual conference via email needed to be done before June 2nd, 2022. The pre-proposal virtual conference is being held today, June 2nd, 2022, which started at 10:30 a.m. The submission of questions and requests for clarifications need to be done on or before June 8th, 2022 at 4 p.m. The responses to the questions and requests for clarifications by June 14, 2022, and the proposal due date, which need to be by electronic means only, from July 5th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. up until July 8th, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. Regarding the submissions of inquiries and addendas for this RFP, each prospective proposer shall submit all questions in writing on or before June 8th, 2022 to the CDBG-DR mailing address, Responses to all responders' questions will be answered by Addenda and will be posted on the CDBG-DR website. All procurement documents pertaining to this RFP, including the addendas issued by the PRDOH, are and will be available for download at the CDBG-DR website. All prospective proposers must monitor the website to retrieve any addenda if issued for this procurement process. Regarding the proposal electronic submission, all proposals are to be submitted on the proposal's due date stated in section 4.3 of the instructions of this RFP. Responses to the RFP submitted after the prescribed deadline will not be allowed. Submissions of responses to the RFP will only be accepted by electronic means. Proposers are advised that the PRDOH will neither require nor accept physical proposal submissions. If proposals are submitted in both electronic and in paper format, the PRDOH will only consider the electronic format for evaluation. The proposer will receive access to submit the electronic proposals after registration process is completed through the CDBG-DR website. At the scheduled due date for the electronic proposal submission, a link button will be enabled to provide access to the registration form. Please complete all the required fields in the form. Proposals must be submitted within the closing date and time as established in section 4.3 of the instructions of this RFP. If the CDBG-DR website fails during the submission period on or before the scheduled time deadline, the PRDOH will provide instructions via addendum to the proposers. Now I will leave you with my teammate Camille Garcia, which will explain the evaluation criteria process and other important information of this RFP.
Thank you, Vanessa. Regarding the evaluation criteria, an evaluation committee will evaluate the responsive proposals. The proposals shall be responsive in all material aspects to enable the evaluation in accordance with the following criteria: qualifications and experience for the proposer to successfully perform the services required in this RFP, as evidenced by the successful offering and completion of the courses required under the RFP and or consulting services that matters required under this RFP. Qualifications and a specialized experience of the proposed key personnel as evidenced by relevant experience to the role proposed. Quality of the proposed approach and its relevance to the services described in this RFP, including implementation schedule and understanding of the PRDOH goals. Capacity of the key personnel and the ability to commit adequate time to effectively perform the services in the role assigned within the required time frame. Financial stability of the proposer and its capacity to effectively perform services under this RFP. For example of that financial requirements, we would request year-end fiscal calendar, audited, reviewed, or compiled financial statement for the most recent 2 years issued by a certified public accountant and prepared in addition with the U.S. General Accepted Accounting Principle, U.S. GAAP. The financial statement must include a balance sheet, a statement of operations, statement of cash flows, and notes to the financial statements. The PRDOH reserves the right, and at this discretion, to accept unaudited financial statement and or to require additional information as may be necessary to evaluate the financial requirements. Also, we're gonna request year-to-date information, most recent year-to-date financial statement for a period ending not later than 90 days before the proposal submission date. The interim financial statement must include at least a balance sheet and a statement of operation. Also, we're gonna request a line of credit, available cash balances, or a combination thereof is a minimum of $20,000. level of quality and relevancy of proposed participation by Section 3 business concern and MBE, WBE registered Puerto Rico business. Also, we're gonna request price proposal, reasonableness overall price, allocation of effort, and overall value offered. Regarding the SAM registration, the proposer and its first year's subcontractors must be registered in the system of award management at the time of the proposal submission, or initiate the registration process right after the proposal submission. For more information about the system of award management, SAM, go to their website, www.sam.gov/SAM. There is no registration fee to create or renew, update your organizational information on SAM. Awards will only be issued to entities that cleared and not eligible for award of contract due to suspension, debarment, or HUD imposed limited denial of participation. Now we're gonna let the federal compliance team to present you their section business and concern presentation.
Thank you, Camille. I will be sharing my screen in just a second here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the space to present compliance and labor standards requirements. This presentation is prepared in English. However, should anyone need this presentation in Spanish, you can request using the protocols for this RFP. I am representing the Department of Housing Federal Compliance team led by Maria del Carmen Figueroa. Today we will discuss, as part of our agenda, an overview of compliance roles and responsibilities. We will also cover some tools that are available online. We will also talk about documenting efforts, taking advantage of training that's made available, and reporting requirements, as well as frequently asked questions. In this presentation, we will be discussing Section 3 training, hiring, and contracting opportunities, minority and women-owned business participation, and fair housing and equal opportunity. Contractors or subrecipients using CDBG-DR or CDBG-MET funding have certain roles and responsibilities. These include assigning staff who will attend the day-to-day implementation of federal compliance requirements, attending trainings and workshops, using tools and templates, executing the activities, and completing documentation that's required. You can also participate in Department of Housing sponsored technical assistance sessions. You must complete quarterly reporting and comply with the reporting requirements. The procurement package contains language that offers contractors the ability to seek bonus points. Please remember to use the references and the templates that are made available and that we will be discussing in this presentation. Proposers seeking Section 3 bonus points should provide their self-certifications and sufficient evidence for how they qualify as a Section 3 business. The Department of Housing offers a template on their website. Proposers who are seeking MBE or WBE bonus points should provide a copy of their MWBE certification to provide evidence of this status. The certificates provided should show the dates and indicate that they are currently active. The procurement package contains sections that speak to the applicability and the requirements for MWBE. Within those sections, you will find helpful links to online resources that are made available, such as the policy guide. Procurement packages also contain language for Section 3 under 24 CFR 75. Although for this particular procurement, the contractor awarded will not need to comply with Section 3. However, you may find the information useful if you are seeking to prove Section 3 status to earn potential bonus points. Let's talk about Section 3. Section 3 is a federal requirement from the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968. This requirement states that we should provide to the greatest extent feasible job training, employment, contracting, and other economic opportunities generated by this HUD financial assistance to be directed to low and very low income persons and businesses. The Department of Housing makes available a Section 3 policy guide on their website both in English and in Spanish. Contractors must read and implement activities as applicable and necessary. They also are responsible for their subcontractors assuring that benchmarks are met. For Section 3 projects, 24 CFR 75 has established the following benchmarks. 25% of the total labor hours for a project should be work hours of Section 3 workers. And from that 25%, 5% of the total labor hours should be work hours of targeted Section 3 workers. Let's talk about the definition of a Section 3 business. A Section 3 business refers to a business concern meeting at least one of the following criteria, which is documented within the last 6 months. The business is at least 51% owned and controlled by low or very low income persons. It could also be a business that has at least 51% ownership and controlled by a public housing resident or residents who currently live in Section 8 assisted housing. It could also be a business that has over 75% of the labor hours performed for that business over the prior 3-month period by Section 3 workers. In this slide, we're going to look at the definition of a Section 3 worker. A Section 3 worker can be any worker who fits or, when hired within the last 5 years, fit at least one of the following categories. The worker's income for the previous or annualized calendar year is below the income limit established by HUD. It could also be a worker who is employed by a Section 3 business concern. Or the worker is a youth build participant. Now let's talk about what a targeted Section 3 worker is. A Section 3 targeted worker for community development financial assistance projects is a person who is employed by a Section 3 business. It could also be a person who currently fits or when hired fit at least one of the following categories as documented within the past 5 years. Someone living within the service area or the neighborhood of the project as defined in 24 CFR 75.5 or a youth build participant. The neighborhood or service area for a targeted Section 3 worker is that in which you can find at least 5,000 persons within a 1-mile radius of the project. If there are less than 5,000 persons within that 1-mile radius, you can expand that radius until you have 5,000 persons around the Section 3 covered project site. Each year, HUD releases new income limits. These income limits typically come out around April. The latest income limits for 2022 are made available on the slide. The Department of Housing has created various forms for helping maintain compliance. There is a Section 3 plan that can be used by contractors or subrecipients. There are also Section 3 self-certification forms. And finally, there is a form to help you document your efforts. Let's take a closer look at your Section 3 plan. This document helps you identify new hiring needs, subcontracting needs. It helps you plan your outreach efforts and assists your coordinators in identifying the day-to-day activities. It helps you define compliant procedures, and it helps you understand your reporting requirements. You can use the link on the slide to visit the website and download a Section 3 plan template. In this slide, we want to focus on the Section 3 self-certification forms. These useful tools help you uncover if workers or subcontracting businesses meet the income thresholds required. HUD offers also a business registry. This registry allows you to register yourself as a Section 3 business. The registry also has a tool that helps serve folks looking for Section 3 business databases. We will now turn our attention to minority and women-owned business compliance. There are various regulations that call for the inclusion of minorities and women business enterprises. 2 CFR 200.321, as well as Executive Orders 11625, 12138, and 12432 establish the participation of MWBE firms, which seek to ensure that when possible, contracts and other economic opportunities funded in whole or in part with federal housing and community development assistance are directed to minority business enterprises and women business enterprises. The Department of Housing has established an MWBE policy guide. This is available on the website in both English and Spanish. You can access those documents using the link on the slide. Let's look at what a minority business enterprise is. An MBE is defined as a business which is at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled on a daily basis by one or more American citizens of the following ethnic minority and/or gender and/or military veteran classifications: African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, Native American, Hasidic Jew, persons with disabilities, and other individuals who can prove social and economic disadvantage. Women business enterprises, or WBEs, are businesses that are at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women. The owners must be U.S. citizens or legal resident aliens whose business formation and principal place of business are here in the U.S. or its territories, and whose management and daily operation is controlled by women. The MWBE policy guide will identify that there are goals which apply to professional services, purchasing supplies, and construction contracting. There is a total of 20% minimum participation goal. This 20% is comprised of 10% for women-owned businesses and 10% for minority-owned businesses. Contractors are expected to perform good faith efforts for contracting, subcontracting, and purchasing opportunities of $10,000 or more during the life of the contract. The Department of Housing has also created various forms for helping maintain compliance with MWBE. One of those is the MWBE Utilization Plan. This document template allows contractors or subrecipients to identify how they plan on being in compliance with these contracting goals. There is also a waiver form. This document allows contractors or subrecipients to identify if they meet the requirements to waive their goals for MWBE. Let's look at the MWBE Utilization Plan. This tool helps you compile data for your subcontracting. It helps you identify what needs you may have. It helps hold discussions on creating supplier and contractor listings, and it provides awareness of meeting the goal for the contract and tracking. You can use the link on the slide to go to the website and download the plan template. Let's review how you should complete your MWBE Utilization Plan. The Department of Housing Utilization Plan template can be used throughout the life cycle of your contract. Completing the plan is pretty easy. You should read the general instructions in row 3 and complete sections A, B, and F from the document. Complete the information requested in the yellow cells. When we talk about certified minority or women-owned businesses, we are referring to those who have filed applications with federal entities such as SBA and others that you see here on the slide. Businesses who are certified can provide proof of completing an application process to be officially recognized as a certified minority or women-owned business. If you are registered as an MWBE, you should provide your valid certificate or other evidence in response to this RFP. In this section, we will be discussing how to complete your efforts and quarterly reporting. In order for you to report your efforts, the Department of Housing provides a tool. This tool helps you document and identify how often you are seeking interactions with Section 3 businesses and MWBE businesses. The quarterly reporting form allows for you to share and report your data with the Department of Housing. This allows the agency to fulfill oversight responsibilities and monitor the progress throughout the year. The Department of Housing's quarterly reporting form allows for the user to capture multiple compliance areas all in one Excel form. Section 3 data is collected. MWBE data is collected as well. FHEO information is also documented within the report. And finally, for those who have construction projects, there is a report for Davis-Bacon Unfound Workers Efforts Reporting. Awarded contractors will be responsible for reporting 4 times a year, on April 5th, July 5th, October 5th, and January 5th. This ensures that you are meeting benchmarks and documenting your efforts. The quarterly reporting template is also available on the Department of Housing website. Let's briefly discuss FHEO. Your RFP package will also contain a model contract which outlines fair housing and equal opportunity areas of compliance. Contractors are responsible for ensuring compliance with federal civil rights and fair housing through their contractors, subcontractors, and so forth, ensuring that all necessary efforts are being made. The Fair Housing Act and Sections 109 and 504 prohibit discrimination against the following protected classes of people: race, color, national origin, religion, sex, age, familial status, disability, gender identity, and sexual orientation. The Fair Housing Act is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. There are many executive orders, laws, and statutes that govern the non-discrimination of protected classes to ensure equal opportunity for individuals in accessing federally funded programs. Equal opportunity is afforded to protected classes through a number of these federal laws and executive orders. The Department of Housing has published policy documents attending FHEO as well as Language Access Plan. These policies must be implemented by contractors and subrecipients. They are publicly available online in both English and Spanish. You are encouraged to click on the links and access the resources available. As a recipient of HUD financial assistance, the Department of Housing must ensure that all programs affirmatively further access to fair housing and that the programs provide equal opportunity for participation and employment. Reasonable accommodations are changes made to policies, practices, services, and structures, or modifications to afford equal opportunity to individuals with disabilities. The costs associated with providing reasonable accommodations and modifications are to be incurred by programs receiving federal funding. HUD contemplates these additional costs as necessary to ensure that the programs and activities it funds do not discriminate against people with disabilities. The slide contains a link for you to access the reasonable accommodation page on the Department of Housing website. Limited English proficiency refers to a person's limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English. Due to Puerto Rico's high Spanish-speaking population, all entities and contractors using the CDBG-DR funding must seek to ensure that both a person's limited ability to read, write, speak, or understand English or Spanish will not place them at a disadvantage in the participation of programs. Let's briefly discuss some common, frequently asked questions. Can a business be both Section 3 and MWBE? The answer is yes. A business or a contractor can be both because these compliance areas are actually separate. Section 3 identifies the level of incomes to determine the status. MWBE uses race and gender information to qualify a business. If I am not planning on subcontracting, do I still need to complete documents? The answer is yes. You should still submit your MWBE utilization plan, the documentation of efforts template, and your quarterly reports. If Section 3 doesn't apply to my contract, do I still have to complete the quarterly report? The answer is yes. You will have to complete the MWBE portion of the report and the portion of the report that attends to FHEO. If I'm either an MBE or WBE, do I fulfill the total goals? You may have safe harbor for one of the goals for MWBE participation of 10%, but you will still have an additional 10% goal to show good faith efforts for any subcontracting or purchasing you perform with the CDBG-DR and CDBG-MIT funding. What happens if I don't fulfill the goals before the end of my contract? All awarded contractors should perform and document their efforts. The Department of Housing has developed templates discussed in this presentation that help you complete the exercise. You can submit a waiver before the end of your contract for approval. This waiver request should be submitted with the efforts and justification as appropriate. Thank you for attending today's training. We hope you found the material helpful. Please remember to direct all your questions through the established protocols for this procurement. Thank you to the procurement team for allowing us to present this material. I will stop sharing the presentation so you can continue with the session.
Thank you to the FRA compliance staff. Now we're gonna end this pre-proposal meeting. We would like to thank you, all of you, in the name of our interim director, Melissa Almodovar, and our team. Thank you, have a nice day, and be well.